Welcome back. So, MRD and PRD. Interesting documents, very important. Pretty much everybody in product management or marketing or a product marketing, they should know this is bread and butter of our jobs. And so let's look at this new product introduction phase gate flow picture again. You've seen this before. I've talked a lot about this, and now we've gone through all the investigation and pulling together the data, building the business case, and then now we are at the product funding stage, and so for that we need to pull two documents in specific. Like I said before, is basically you need the MRD market requirements document, and then we need the PRD product requirements document. And so those are the sort of a textual Word documents, and you can use any text editor that you want, but basically to differentiate it from a PowerPoint like presentation. So the MRD, PRD, they are better written with in a Word type of document. And once you're done with that, what you're going to do is you're going to use that as a basis, as a raw material, so to speak, and then you will extract a nice, decent presentation flow out of that with the relevant information, and then you will use that to make a compelling business case to the NPRB executive board, and they will bless your product, and everybody is off to races in product development phase. And that's the goal here. And then, so what I want to do is just basically take a typical table of contents structure of the MRD and PRD following that. And then I want to just go through that structure and then talk a little bit about some of the things that need highlighting. But the goal of this particular video is to show you what exactly an MRD looks like in terms of table of contents, and what are the typical topics and aspects that you are expected to cover. And so as you go through it, you will understand that once you have these pieces of information, the executive board, the new product review board, will have all the information they need to make a decision. So basically, so I'm showing you here in this chart, a typical table of contents really starts with a introduction. You always need a very short, it's not a multi-page, just one paragraph, 3 or 4 lines or 4 to 5 lines introduction, not more than that. And obviously this MRD flow is what I recommend or what I like. Maybe there are people who are used to different types of MRD flow before, but I always think that you should right away, you should show a target application for your product, meaning where is your product used, how is it used, who is using it, and all 3 questions is what an application answers, right? So you show a picture, you show, okay, here is the target application, this is where our product is used, here is application 1, application 2, application 3, and so set a context for your product, and that way it makes it clear to the readers of the MRD, and readers of the MRD are executive team, your own marketing people, and sometimes the key engineering people also, engineering teammates. But MRD is not the distribution list of an MRD, it is restricted, let's put it this way. And so target application, once they see the target application, they know what are the core applications that you want to target, and then what you're not targeting. For example, I'll give you a simple example. If I'm a semiconductor company product manager, and if I am saying that, look, my chip will be used in car application, automotive application, for example, then that is an application as distinct from, say, a smartphone application. When it comes to smartphone application and handheld iPhone or iPad or handheld tablet type of thing, that application looks a little bit different from say this car application, just to draw a distinction. And then right away you want to get to the top level requirements from the customer. Again, here the operative word is top level requirements. Just how these requirements or this particular set of requirements are distinct from the existing product that is already in the market out there. Because obviously, if you're just developing new product for the same requirements, there's no point in developing a new product, right? And so top level requirements are your way of showing to the team that, okay, these are the key requirements that we need to meet, and this will make the product a better, newer, different product. And right away you want to talk about the competitive analysis, meaning you showed where the product is used in the application, and you said what the product is with the top level requirements, and then you said, look, how does it compare with the competition? And then here you want to project forward. You're not going to talk about only what is the competition today on the day of your presentation, because the product will go into the market so many months from now, right? And so the competition, or what your expectation is of the competition a few months down the line, is what matters. And then you want to talk about, all right, given that the competitive landscape a few months or when the product is released will look like that, then how is your product going to survive and excel and shine? And that means, what is the competitive advantage of your product that you are proposing to develop? And so you go on to talk about what the product definition is. So you've painted a broad strokes in broad strokes what the product is, and now you want to get to a little bit more detail. Talk about the product description, the top level product features, and now you want to talk about what is the effort required by the company. In other words, what kind of application engineering support help you need, what is the system engineering support, to develop some additional boards or additional applications or test cases to go with the product. And then you also want to talk about, there's this sign-off checklist requirement, meaning at every stage of the product development, you and engineering and operations, everybody, you're all going to agree on that these minimum criteria has to be checked before we let the development go to the next phase, or before only after they satisfy these checklist requirements. And so, for example, test reports, test results, so that people in the team can take a look at them and see, okay, we are on the right track. So it's a classic checks and balances and make sure you're in the right direction. And then you want to talk about the target customers. So product is defined, application is there, competition, who they are, how you're going to beat them, and how your system engineering is going to help you out. And now what are you going to do once the product is ready? Who are you going to put this product in the hands of? So this is very important. We talked many times that the alpha customer and the availability of them, and you making sure that they are ready to test drive your product. And so you're going to spell out in detail what this is. And then you're going to talk about the market analysis. You're going to describe qualitatively, quantitatively, what is the market size growth. Remember, way back we said TAM, SAM, and SOM. So you're going to go through that analysis, and you're going to describe your subjective evaluation and analysis. And also you're going to include all the charts and projections and everything. And then marketing plan. Again, go to market. What is your strategy in what is the window you want to capture, and then what are the alpha customer programs, how are you going to get them activated, and what is the positioning, what is the product launch, any trade shows that you want to hit, and things like that. And more important here also is the risk factor. So you are going to talk about what are the risks that threaten the success of the product, is what it means. Regulatory risk or standards compliance. For example, regulatory means, if there is some regulatory or regulation that you are expecting to change the market landscape at some point, you may want to highlight this and see how it impacts. And also, every time you talk about a risk factor, you want to talk about what are you thinking, what are your thoughts about how you want to mitigate this risk. And so obviously there's standards compliance risk. What happens if you don't pass the standard compliance? Are you going to be totally out of the market? And what are the technology risks and market window risks? And then you're going to dive into this financial analysis. Remember, we talked again a lot about the gross margin, return on investment, break-even point. So all of that you're going to put it in here. Pricing trend for similar products, so you know how the ASP trend, you're going to say it's consistent with how a similar product behaved in the market. Manufacturing costs, development costs, we covered a little bit of this, and classic 12-quarter revenue analysis, and then a return on investment for the proposed product. So that pretty much captures the market requirements portion of the document. And then there is a bigger section called product requirements, in which you're going to spell out the detailed requirements for the proposed product. Again, it's always good to start with a product numbering scheme. So there's hardware, there's software, there's API, there's backend, there's database, and API calls and functions, all of these. So there's plenty of complexity in any technology product, and so while tracking the requirement, it is easier for you if you assign some numbering scheme, so you can refer it by numbering scheme. This is all again depends on the company process, and engineering management team tends to be quite familiar with this process. And so you spell out all these requirements, and typically what I do is, my habit is, I try to keep the product requirements document separate from the market requirements document. Like I said before, the audience and the distribution list for these two are different, but they go together. Meaning when it comes to the product funding and everything, you need to make these documents available to whoever asks and whoever is in the audience, because they may say, look, I want to take a look at them and see if you have got all of them right, or what are your requirements, how deep they are, how clearly you spelled out. Does engineering understand these requirements? Are there any open issues and things like that? So be ready to have them drill your documents in detail, and that's why you need to do a great job in preparing these documents, both for the audience and also for yourself. You need to convince yourself first that you have a case for the product. And so what I want to do is this. So now you have seen how the MRD looks like, how the PRD looks like, and I think what I will do is in the notes section, or I will try to put some templates of the MRD, one template, just so the same thing flow that we talked about, so you can maybe start using it, using that template if you don't have any other alternative. And so in the next lecture, I want to switch gears slightly, but not too much. Now we want to take this information and we want to put it in a PowerPoint flow, and you want to prepare this material for the presentation. Now, it's not such a big deal to go from this document to the presentation, but you're not going to simply show the document and go through the document. There is it is a presentation, so you need to make a presentation. And so I want to touch on that a little bit so that we complete the circle. And so you're ready and you finish this product funding phase, and then we'll go from there. So we will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.